Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM22 story, The Head Coach, with me, Daniel. We're back today for part 108 and we are back for our first game in charge of Real Madrid, an absolute giant in world football, but one that in relative terms is on his knees here in FM22. We've come from a Manchester United side that has been dominant in recent years, certainly domestically, and we're coming here to a side that hasn't won the league since 21-22, a side that hasn't even finished second last season, and a side that hasn't been within 6 points of Barcelona in the last 9 seasons. They had a shoestring budget, they've got a very ageing squad, and not a great deal of that has been addressed throughout the summer, and half the money that has been spent has been wasted. So I'm not particularly optimistic ahead of this season. If you're looking forward to finding out who's come in today though, as we take a look at the last month or so in the transfer window, set up our tactic for the first game and play it at home to Atletico Pamplona, then please do put a thumbs up on the video, subscribe down below for daily FM22 content from 2 long-term stories. We had deadline day yesterday in the Hemel Save. You can find a link to the latest season of that one up in the eye above. There's also a link to the Twitch channel for regular live streams, the football podcast which has had a mad week, the League 1 playoffs underway, the League 2 and Championship ones coming next week. And of course there's a link to the merchandise store up there as well. One more day with the 5% discount on everything. Load FM5 at checkout is the code. You can also support the show as a channel member down below by clicking the join button to become a channel member. But thank you very much for your incredible support as always. It really is appreciated. As we come back for what I expect to be probably our final club job of the series. Unless in 2 or 3 years Bayern have still got their squad together and we've got an opportunity to go and take charge there. I don't think we're going to be going anywhere else after this. Certainly not outside of international management. But what I want to do is take you through some of the transfer news first, because it's been interesting. One of the things I've got to give credit to Marina, the director of football, for, is she's tried to sign, generally, young players under 23, which is looking at the future of the club. The issue is, none of them are really good enough to be better than squad players, even when they reach their peak, and a lot of them are rejecting us. And one of the 2 signings that we have managed to get isn't good enough for first team level at the moment. So let's go and take a look at them. In terms of the transfers itself, there's loads of pending stuff to get through, but let's start with the history. Because since you were last with me here when we joined Real Madrid, we've had 2 players in for a combined £60 million, 4 players out, 3 on loan, 1 permanently for a small transfer fee but big wages. And in going back to the end of last season, we obviously knew when we came in that Juan Foyth and Pedro Neto were 2 experienced players added to the ranks. So I'm not quite sure where the money's come from, unless it was a flick of the wage bill. However, 60 million has been spent. The first one's a very solid player, the second one not so much. Let's start with the one big out though, which is Riddle Baku. I'm actually a little bit upset about this, because he was one of the most versatile players in the squad. But at 35, not ever been a regular for Germany. He's going back to German football in the Bundesliga. And the way he was declining, I can understand it entirely. So, a player who played 135 league games for Real Madrid, but wasn't going to be a star for us. And with that in mind, and with one of our younger players being at right back that was already at the club, I can sort of see why this one's been done. And we did mention it in the last episode, and I'm not sure if many of you will have agreed with me. I do think this summer was always going to be quite a quiet one, and the next summer, where a lot of our older, aging players are out of contract, that's perhaps where we see the big turnaround. Whether or not that happens, we'll wait and see. Having said that, the first of the 2 ins we've got, which ironically is from German football as well, I'm actually quite excited about. The man is Aristide Diallo. Apologies if I've pronounced it wrong. He comes in from Leipzig for £28 million. He's a centre-half and left-back, and those 2 positions seem to have been the sole focus of Marina in this transfer window. But Diallo comes in, he's a squad player, he's on a relatively low wage, and I know he's got a few holes in his repertoire. He's not maybe the best player at the moment. He has got core attributes that are pretty good. Very strong in the air, good positionally, and okay at the rest of the stuff. But if he gets a bit of football and can get that extra half a star of ability defensively, I think we might have a pretty good player on our hands. So, not more than a good Premier League player if we're looking at England, not more than probably some of our worst backups at Manchester United. But we're in a very different stage here. Younger players who have got caps for their international team, who are going to continue to develop. And I think Diallo's going to be one of those. He comes in, he's actually the 5th best centre-half at the club, but Nianzou can play the holding role, Foyth can play right back, and Wrench can play in 100 positions. So he might actually get more game time than it looks like on the face of it. I'm pretty happy with him. The second one, though, I'm not so pleased about. Now, I have to accept he came in because another left back rejected us. But Unai Alonso for 32 million from Huesca, I just don't see it. 2-star ability left back and left winger, 20 years of age. He's got a good personality. There's a positive. He's worth more than we signed him for. That's great as well. Immediately the staff said he needed to be loan listed because he wasn't good enough for the first team, which is always a worry for a 30 million signing. I just don't think he's great. He's poor positionally. He's not the best going forward. He's not the best marking. He's not great in the air. He's only 5'4". He's right-footed on the left, which I don't really like in fullbacks. And he's only actually got one season of senior football under his belt. I don't think he's going to make it. And I don't think that he's even as good as the young left-back from the academy, who's our current backup. So that's where I'm a little bit concerned about him. But it's a player to the squad, and if we're desperate, he'll do a job in the odd league game. We can give him that much, can't we? But maybe not where I wanted half of the transfer budget to go, given that it is a smaller budget than you'd expect to have. But this is the beauty of a Director of Football challenge. At Manchester United, it was all goalkeepers that got signed. At Crystal Palace, it was all wingers that were getting signed. Well, here, I think it's probably going to be all defensive left-sided players that are going to be signed. But overall, not the worst window in the world. Let's have a look at the transfer centre because there's a lot more potentially happening. And actually, we'll move and start with the outs because the big one that could be leaving is Renato Sanchez. He's 35 years of age. He's been trying to force his way out. He's been causing problems in the dressing room. He's only got 1 year left on his deal. It makes sense. We agreed to sell him for 3.5 million. That offer has now come in from Benfica. And I think he will be going back to where it all started for him. A couple of others potentially going out on loan. And then in, we've had one big man reject us again. Another left-sided defender, a left back and centre-half. Amin Ziegler from Hoffenheim. Probably would have been the best of the lot despite the lower transfer fee. But he wanted quite big wages and rejected the offer that came from our Director of Football. I would have rather had him than Alonso every day of the week. But it's not happened. And unfortunately, where we've got a very good player with 2 years of football under his belt at a good level in the Bundesliga, he's not going to be joining us. But I would have liked to have seen him come in. What that means is that Marina has made an offer for Claudinho, a 13 million centre-half from Brazil. And actually, he's not bad again. Very good physically, positionally and in the air. Only 5'10", but doing a solid job. Can play in the holding role too. I wouldn't be devastated if he's the last signing of the summer. So there's a clear priority from the Director of Football on defenders. And I'm not really that sure why based on the squad we've got. Of course, good defenders means Nianzou can push into midfield. Of course, Milenkovic at 35 is going to be gone this year. Foyth the same. Militao probably the same. Saelmakers at 34 a defender, probably going to be gone. But I don't look at our squad and see that as the weakest position. Maybe I'm just seeing things wrong though. We've got good young attacking players. We've got a so-so midfield. But overall, I could have had worse. And the fact that we're signing young players that will all have a sell-on value, that's the most important thing for me. Because we had at Crystal Palace that club culture item and we just kept seeing older heads coming in. So I really praise Marina for trying to get good players and trying to get young players too. If we go and have a look though at a season preview to see what those signings have done to our expectations, I'd imagine not a lot because they're not hugely inspiring. The season preview itself, we are predicted second, but Barcelona still heavy favourites. We're very close with Almeria and with Atletico Madrid. And bar Nianzou and the two wingers, we've got no one in the expected team of the year. Barcelona, on the other hand, have got 6. What I do worry about, of course, our first away game next week at Valencia. They're expected to finish 6th. They've got no Europe this year, so it might be a bit easier for them to get the squad together. The other two, the home games, are against Malaga, who are promoted, albeit they won away on the opening day, and Pamplona today, who are both expected to be in a relegation scrap. So whether or not we can break them down, I don't know. But let's go and head into the season. We'll pick our tactic, we'll pick our team, and we'll try and get a win on the opening day. In terms of the other games we've got to keep an eye on, Almeria go to Huesca. We've got Atletico Madrid going off to Getafe, which is another tough game for them. And Barcelona, the imperious force in this league, they go away to Levante. And they have got a very strong side, managed by Vincent Kompany. Let's have a look at what they've done in the transfer window. Just spent the £90 million. They brought in a £20 million player from Sheffield United, who is a very solid defender. They've brought in a player from Hertha Berlin, a young number 10. Look at that deal for 17 million quid. That's ridiculous. And then they've spent 50 million on Maximilian Volk from Leicester. Ice class. Look, we are in two very different transfer windows at the moment. Barcelona are in a top league and we are trying to catch them slowly. And I don't think much can happen until we get the wage bill cleared, which is probably going to take a while given the players that we've got on the books. And you can see just from looking at the squad, look, most of their team is under 30 and they've only got those 4 or 5 old heads, which are going to hold these youngsters together, and I'm sure they're going to keep developing. And look how many they've got. They're all worth over 100 million. And our squad is nothing like that at all. So let's get through to the tactical meeting. We're favourites for this game, underdogs in the title race though. And we've got some concerns in the squad of players that are already here as well. So we'll pick the assistants 11, we'll make our changes in a minute. Will Smallbone is paying for Atletico Pamplona, didn't expect that. But let's have a look at what might be going wrong as we don't even sell out the Bernabeu. If we have a look in our midfields at the substitutes bench, we've got Manuel, who is that really good attacking midfielder. A solid player, came through the academy, hasn't played an awful lot of football. His attitude, despite being driven, is stinking. He's trying to force his way out the club. He's not been particularly helpful at any stage, and he's dividing the dressing room, so he might end up going. The director of football had accepted one offer, he rejected the club, and he's wanted again now, not for a lot of money either. Hoffenheim, maybe that could be a swap deal, who knows. Okay, so an interesting setup we've gone for today, and we've tried our best to get our best players in the best positions. However, we can't guarantee that that's going to be the winning formula because we've had to take a few little gambles. So we've got a couple of deficits in the squad where we've had to fill in blanks, but otherwise I feel we're pretty strong. What we've gone for then is a 4-3-3. This is probably the closest I've tried to get to replicating maybe the Bristol City formation, and I think we're going to try and do that in the way we are here. I might put Janzu as a sort of supporting player because he's good in the middle, but I want to look after him. So that's what we're going to go for. A back 2 centre-halves protected by an anchor man, 2 full-backs that have got the licence to move on, and then a front 5 that can cause havoc. A Mazzala, an advanced playmaker, 2 attacking wingers, and Kalantari up front. And Kalantari will know this tactic better than anyone. So in goal, we've gone for Walter Farinez. Sailmakers and Ruggieri are the full-backs with Militao and Foyth as centre-half. Nianzou in as the anchor man, Antonio and Rija in centre midfield. Then Altmaier and Vinicius Jr. on the wings. Vinicius signed a new 2-year deal. He's here next season regardless. And up front, the legend, the king himself. We need this man to come to the party as he did at Bristol City. If he does, absolutely anything is possible. Arian Kalantari scoring 1 in 2 for Real Madrid, scored almost 1 in 2 for Spurs, and scored over 1 in 2 for us at Bristol City. They are the men we're looking to today. The other new signings, Pedro Neto is on the bench today. He's available to come on if we need to, as is Diallo, who we met earlier in the episode. The younger right back, Sir Foso's there, but I really don't think he's a 3-star player. And then I've sort of gone a bit more attacking with our midfielders on the bench. The only reason is I haven't decided yet whether we're going to long-term drop Nianzou in for Foyth and then maybe play a number 10 instead. I don't feel at the moment we've got a strong enough squad for that, and I want to protect what is, I think, an entirely over 30 backline. It is. Ruggieri's 31. The 2 centre-halves are 35 and 35. I think we've got to look after them a bit. So this is what we've gone for. It's a positive mentality. The tactical instructions even are similar to Bristol City. Work the ball into the box, play on the counter-attack, win it back quickly, get at them quickly, and hopefully the front three can cause chaos. If we need to, we'll get on the ability to dribble more because Kalantari is very good dribbling. Vinicius Jr. is of course very good, and Altmaier not too bad himself. The only worry with that is the centre midfielders, Marcos Antonio and Rija, maybe not quite so good on that front. So without ball carriers in the middle, I didn't feel I could justify turning it on. But that's our squad. You've seen what Barcelona's looks like. What do you think the expectations for the seasons are? Are we going to finish first? Are we going to finish third again? Can we creep back up to best of the rest? Or is it going to be a challenge with Barcelona against all the odds with a very old squad? Into the first game of the season. It's a winnable one on paper. Let's see if we can start with 3 points. Well, here we are for the first game of the season. We recognise a couple of British names in the Pamplona side, actually. Will Smallbone and Riley McGree both in there. So it's going to be interesting to see how they compete. They are expected to be in the bottom quarter of the league by the media. but we've got to get on the front foot. And it's a new manager, it's a new style, it's a lot of aging players, including a few new ones as well. I don't know how we're going to play today. I really hope Kalantari, Altmaier and Vinicius, the front three, can save us and take us to the top of the party. Let's get into it and find out if they can. Well, 10 minutes on the clock, it's been quiet so far as we're back for a goal kick from the visitors. Nianzou doing well in that anchor roll to win it back and finds Ruggieri on the left-hand side. He releases Vinicius Jr., who can carry it into the box. Across to Kalantari. Who else was ever going to score our first goal here? He picks up exactly where he left for Bristol City. And do you know what I like about that? It's a poacher's goal. The ball across the box was between keeper and Kalantari. It was a 50-50. It wasn't the best. He slides in. He makes sure he gets there first. Oh, I love that kid. I've forgotten how good he was. And I tell you what, by the time we're finished here, the next merchandise range might be dedicated to Arian Kalantari, because what a star. And he started by reminding me just how good he is. As Sergio gives it to Soar. There's no doubt that Pamplona are in this game and that we're not the best side though. So we've got to be careful and not get drawn by just how good Kalantari is. As Smallbone, another British player at the other end, almost puts one in for the visitors. They were back with a corner kick which Ruggieri will take. Into the back post, it's poor. Headed away by Terzic. Vinicius Jr. recycles though. Finds Ruggieri cutting in from the right to Antonio. Chance to cross, instead is forced wide. And he's brought down on the edge of the box. That'll be a free kick. And I just want a second to make this comfortable now. It's the type of game we should win comfortably, even though we're not one of the best sides in the league at the minute. But as that one's headed away, with Kalantari at the helm, absolutely anything is possible here. As we're straight back for the throw with Ruggieri to Nianzou. Into the back post, Altmaier's there. We'll go to VAR to check it, but it looked fine to me. And that was the main reason for playing him out wide and Kalantari in the middle. Similar to we did at Bristol City. Two taller players out wide. Altmaier's 6 foot. He's good in the air at the back post. And he's not the best finisher in the world. So if he can have more chances with his head and Kalantari can have more with his feet, then we're going to get outcomes like that. 1 goal apiece, half an hour gone. And it looks like we're going to start with a win. As Nianzou, brilliant again in that anchorman role. Long ball from Altmaier to Kalantari. It's a half chance, but he carries it, holds it up well. Delivers for Vinicius Jr. Not the best goalkeeping in the world. But Vinicius scores. All of the front three have got a goal. And Kalantari provides the assist there too. That is exactly what we wanted at the start. And again, the front three could carry us. That's what we're going to need this season. There's a free kick just inside the box for the Pamplona keeper. Long ball headed away by Rija. Javier knocks it down for McGree though. And although we're going to start with aplomb here with a comfortable victory, we want to try and get a clean sheet from it too. As Ruggieri down the left to Vinicius. Doesn't carry the ball, instead goes over. Kalantari can't quite make it. Grief clears away. You are going to hear an awful lot of Kalantari love in this year. I will apologise in advance for the over-the-top gushing of his displays. As he's in one-on-one again. He's bloody earning it, isn't he? What a finish, Kalantari. Beats the keeper there. 2 goals and an assist. It's 4-0 to Real Madrid. And I know we're playing one of the weakest sides in the league, but I've just got to enjoy it. What a reunion. It's a dream start. And we've got a corner kick. Can we make it 5 before the break? Ruggieri into Altmaier. Don't forget that man as well. He's scored 2 now. Vinicius has got 1 and an assist. This is going to be, at home against the weaker sides, a very good season. The problem with La Liga and the way the league split, even in FM in recent years, is that you're going to win a lot of games like this. And it boils down to your fixtures against probably 6 or 7 teams. And although we had to show this as the first game, a lot of the rest of the ones we show are going to be much harder than this. As is Valencia away going to be next week, in fairness. As Javier tries to chip it into the front line. A rare attack and a foray into our half for the visitors. But it's dealt with well and Ruggieri gets away to Rija. Out to Vinicius on the left. You can see the game plan. Find Kalantari and get up in support. He goes back. He's intercepted by Smallbone though. Really well done from the midfielder. Clemente clears downfield but headed away well. Sailmakers can forage down the right. He's not often gone forward this game. Goes back into Foyth. On his debut finds Nianzou. Up to Altmaier and Antonio. To Altmaier again. Beats his man. He's on a hat-trick. And it just beats the post as he shoots from the edge. This is a really good performance. We'll make some changes soon. I think we can bring the youngsters on in this one. Well, an hour on the clock. We're going to see out this highlight. Then we'll make the changes. Young Diallo can have a debut. We'll bring on some of the youngsters in midfield and attack as well. But for now, we're trying to get a 6th goal with Vinicius Jr. Can one of the other two get a hat-trick as well? As Antonio, wide to Altmaier, who's knackered and will be coming off in a minute, finds Antonio, who gives it to Sailmakers by the byline. Into Vinicius, he hits the woodwork. Could have been 2 apiece for the front three there. But instead it's a corner kick. What a start to the season. They certainly look comfortable in this tactic, don't they? Regeri puts the corner in, headed away Clemente. And Vinicius Jr. will mop up. Leads to nothing in the end, but he's brought down for the foul. And to be fair, they just can't cope with the front three. They're so direct. And it's leading to a very good game for us. Let's make the changes. Back in a minute where they're done. But the youngsters will be the ones coming on here. Right then, 3 changes made as we've got a corner kick with Regeri headed away. It's Miguel and Alfredo, the two 21-year-olds from the academy on. And Diallo, the new centre-half who was signed. He's come on as well. But with 5 minutes left, it's 5-0 Real Madrid. And we would have absolutely loved to have had this result at the start of the day. As Alfredo, the youngster, gets down the left to Rihar. Plays a 1-2. The cross is headed away. Magri will bring it down. It's back to Artola, who finds Javier. They're away down the left here with Arroyo. Sailmaker's getting back at him. But can he prevent the cross? It goes back to El Sheikh. Into Arroyo again. There's a chance here for Pamplona. But a shot straight at Farinez. It remains 5-0. And we get away with one there. Not the best defending on the counter. As they've got another free kick with Arroyo into the back post. Diallo heads clear to help preserve the clean sheet. But it finds Arroyo on the left again. He's been prominent the last few minutes. That cross is wildly overhit though. Javier can keep it in on the right. Goes back to Moisey. And inside to Magri. We're into 2 minutes of stoppage time here. They are looking a threat now. They've really gone for it the last few minutes. And down the right they found Soar again. He's a good player actually in the Belgian league in real life. Finds a good cross there which is headed just wide. And it remains 5-0. But we've got to be pleased with the performance. The first half was scintillating. And Calantari has just reminded me of everything I loved about him. As Miguel the youngster comes forward, finds Vinicius Jr. And he gets his second to polish off the game. We make it 6-0 in the 92nd minute. And the youngster there, one of the few players we've got who can carry the ball through midfield. And he showed it. 14 shots on target to 1. A really good display. And 2 goals for each of our starting front three. Make it a very good start to the season and our time in charge at Real Madrid. Now let's go and see when we're next going to be back. Well, a double bonus on the opening day of the season. First favourites for the title, consecutive winners Barcelona, lose at Levante. We then see Almeria, the third favourites for the title after us, lose 1-0 at Huesca with a last minute goal. But if that's anything to go by, Barcelona are going to give us a chance this year. And considering they're a side that have been basically imperious, getting around 100 points every year, that is a remarkable start to the season for our football club. Let's go and have a look at the schedule for when we're next going to be back. I'm tempted. I normally show deadline day in this save, but I don't think there's going to be a lot happening because there's only 30 million left. I think Claudinho will come in. If there's anything big happening, of course, we'll show it. I think what I want to do is show, because we've got a relatively easy start to the season on paper, or we're not playing any of the big boys, bar Valencia next week, which is too soon. I'd rather show the first Champions League game and have that as a surprise. So I think that's what we're going to come back for. If you did enjoy this episode, a scintillating start from the front three, a reminder of just how good Calantari is, and a little favour and bonus from Barcelona too, then please do put a thumbs up on it. Let me know what you think of the director of football's work so far, and can this bunch of old heads be carried by a quite sublime front three, including 2 young stars? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you do want to stay up to date, then subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on for daily FM22 content. We'll of course be back with Champions League action in this one in 2 days' time. Tomorrow though, we've got to bounce back after a poor start to the season with Hemel. You can find the latest season of that up in the eye above, as well as the Twitch channel for regular live streams, the football podcast for prediction shows for all the EFL playoffs, and of course the merchandise store too. Code LOADFM5 until tomorrow for 5% off everything. But above my head now is the transfer deadline day special from the Hemel save yesterday. Please do check that out in the meantime. I hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you back here for Champions League action with Real Madrid in a couple of days' time.